I am responsible for the customer success group here in North America. Been part of the industry for over 30 years now, and it's really amazing, and I love seeing how it's evolving and constantly changing. This webinar itself represents a bit of a passion, and I hope you'll enjoy what we'll go through today. We've got a good lineup. We've got some live speakers, and I'm going to kick it off with a quick 2-minute video to give you some idea about what our product does. So that'll be a little helpful for you just to understand what CoreStack is about. And then following that, I'm going to bring live on a couple of my top executives to engage in a live conversation. That's right. We're not going to do another boring PowerPoint presentation here. We're going to be focused on really some nice information that we're going to relay across. But first, let's kick it off. And we got a quick 2-minute video, and then I'll come back and show you a little more.
My name is Ilarasan Rajan. I'm the founder and CEO of CoreStack. CoreStack is a multi-cloud compliance and governance SaaS platform that helps enterprises in their digital transformation journey with cloud. When bigger enterprises use the newer, latest and greatest technologies, there are certain business challenges they deal with. Customers look for integrated peace of mind solution, which solves across the board visibility all the way to how secured am I. CoreStack helps solve the problems associated in this three vertical: CloudOps, SecOps, and FinOps, helping the CIO, CFO to give the next generation experiences for their customers. We realize that partners are absolutely critical. We have created our ecosystem in such a way that our platform can be leveraged by the partners to create the impact, starting from white labeling all the way to a typical Salesforce equivalent shared services where somebody logs in just with a browser. We have varied tiers of partnerships based on their demands of how they want to leverage CoreStack and create the impact for the customers. All of that compliances can be delivered all the way from operations to the highest level of security. There are point solutions in the market, and enterprises, we see that they more and more ask their partners to deliver this. They couldn't find a better alternative than CoreStack.
All right. As we get my video back on here, I hope that was helpful for everybody to get started. So what we'll be doing here is I will go through and I'll introduce a couple of our speakers, but as we go along, a couple of Zoom housekeeping items. If you'd like to go and join in our chat, feel free, or if you've got some questions that you'd like answered, take a look at that Q&A button and click on that, and we'll get to you as soon as possible. Now, let me just check here. I don't know if my video is coming up or not. All right, I will get that fixed as we go. Always something would happen live. So you can hear me here. Just a moment, folks. All right, well, we're going to continue on without my video, and I will get this fixed as we go along. I don't know what happened there on my side, but of course, anything live will happen as we go along. So it's my pleasure to start by introducing the CoreStack CEO, Easy Natarajan, as well as Bob Patel, our Global VP of Sales. We're going to start with Easy, and let's talk a little bit about you're a veteran in the startup industry, and you've done a lot of things in the past. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and the types of startups you've done, and a bit about that journey.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me here, Chris. I much appreciate, and hello to all the audience and customers and partners who are on the call today. Good morning, good evening, based on your locations. I've been in the industry for about 25 years now, Chris. The first decade have been with the Fortune 500 companies, putting technology to business transformation in the worlds of telecom, B2B enterprise, and VLSI and mobile technologies of the late 90s and mid 2000s. And that gave a great amount of visibility in terms of how we can build the next 10 years of technologies. And the next 10 years, I've been part of, coveted, I would probably call it as an entrepreneurship journey, building technologies for the next generation, being part of a larger companies, right? Whether it is being it is Azure for Microsoft, building from its first data centers, being part of the larger ecosystem for the world, or building the hospitality cloud platform services for the hospitality industry, which used to have a 70% market share across the globe. And eventually, in the last 5 years, 5 to 6 years, I've been part of building CoreStack.
Great. Well, thank you. And I guess we got the video situation squared away here. Apologies for that. That's fantastic. Well, let's take a quick little poll of some of the folks that we have here on the line. If we can put up that poll for everybody, let's take a look at what challenges are you facing as you manage your cloud infrastructure. Give everybody a quick moment to answer this. All right, let's take a look at those results now and see what we've got. All right, so we have majority of across the board, but even more so across the board. A number of you, the majority did vote with the all of the above. So the managing your cloud spend and everything. Easy. What do you think about the results? Does that surprise you at all?
No, Chris, I think it is kind of ubiquitous with what we see in the industry and what we have been fundamentally, thoughtful about, right? When we wanted to start CoreStack, help the digital challenges of customers in three critical dimensions, right? Solve the business problems. How do you put technology to deliver the business transformation or business demands, be it volume or be it velocity? These two are the complexity generators, right? In the last 2 years, especially during the pandemic, every company has become a digital first, mobile first, security first company, and they want to adopt technologies on a higher scale. When you adopt technologies on higher scale and keep your velocity at a highest level, you will have all these challenges, right? You will have operational availability, performance challenges. You will have cost, visibility, control challenges, and everything has to be done with highest level of security and compliance. So I'm not surprised at all. This is what we hear from larger ecosystem players. Very interesting.
Yeah, and it's definitely been a very interesting past couple of years. Something none of us expected with this whole pandemic and turning around and everybody working from home and more towards the cloud. We're seeing that I think just accelerate. So you're absolutely right. So appreciate. We're going to come back to you in a few moments, Easy, and appreciate that experience side and why you really brought CoreStack forward and introduced it to the world. Let's turn to Bob Patel here. Bob, again, you're our global VP of Sales. You must see a lot of customers with these same challenges. Can you tell me a little bit about an example, maybe a customer story?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. By the way, it's great to see you back on video. Nice to see you there. And welcome everybody to our webinar. Hey, so Chris, you're right. So we do see a lot of customers now, especially with the younger, fast, hyper growth kinds of companies. And we see these companies in almost all the verticals, right? We see them in the financial tech space, right? FinTech space. We see them in healthcare. We see them in online education. We see them in gaming. And what we see really over the last 2 years, more so than even before, was that COVID has just taken some of these companies and taken them from a linear growth model to an exponential growth model, right? These companies are just absolutely skyrocketing in terms of the usage of these technologies and products, as you might imagine, because of COVID. And what COVID really does to these companies when they go through an exponential growth is that it basically exacerbates some of the challenges that you might see at any startup. Right? Almost every startup is constrained financially. It's constrained with the amount of talent they have available because you're not obviously hiring, each individual role. You're hiring people that wear multiple hats at the same time. You're limited by the amount of resources you have inside your organization. So all these limitations that the high growth companies face got even that much worse in COVID, right? And that's really where we came in terms of helping these companies continue on that growth trajectory, but really remove some of those challenges, remove some of that friction. So we're seeing great success stories across the board, Chris.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And it's been, again, interesting times, and we're seeing startups really come out of places we didn't expect. It's got to be an exciting time for a startup. Anyhow, let's get back to the high growth startups. Maybe, actually, let's step back. Sorry. What could we say that would be, something that the high growth startups are going to relate to, like those that are on the call? What sort of things do you think that they're experiencing directly?
That's a good question. As I think about that, right, and Easy spoke about some of the challenges, right, some of these governance challenges that these companies face. Now, nobody, let's be honest here, right? Nobody ever got excited. Nobody ever got up in the morning and said, hey, let me go tackle my governance challenges, right? That's never ever been said by any CIO in any industry. That's a fact. But what people get excited about when they actually decompose, when they double click on governance, what does that mean? What they get excited by is, how do I optimize the money I'm spending with these hyperscalers? Am I getting maximum value for my buck? Right? What they get excited by is that when I go to bed at night, do I know my security posture? Am I concerned that I might lose all the data that's sitting in the cloud because I didn't do my share of the shared responsibility model that the hyperscalers have? What they get excited by is that if I got hit by a compliance requirement, if an agency comes in and says, let me see your particular compliance, whether it's PCI DSS or it's NIST or it's ISO, right? I can respond to that request in a matter of hours and not in a matter of days. What they get excited by is, as their AWS rep is telling them that, hey, you need to take all your AWS deployments and make them compliant with these well-architected frameworks, and knowing that you're 70, 80, 90% there on the WAF, that's exciting. And finally, what's really exciting for these guys is when you can tell them that, hey, as you go through this hyper growth phase of your company's journey, we can automate many of your cloud operations. You don't have to go out and hire 15 people. That's pretty exciting. So again, while governance as a high-level topic doesn't really excite a lot of people, when you double click on it and talk about money and people and talent and recruitment and automation, all these kind of things, that's pretty exciting stuff, right? And that's what these CIOs get excited by, those kind of challenges that we like helping people solve.
Exactly. And as we go through, I think, is it fair to say one of the key words and key things that the startups are thinking about and what they need to do is high velocity?
No, that's a great point, Chris. Right? I mean, time to market usually equals market capture. Right? How much of the market you actually capture? Right? If you get to a market first, that first mover advantage, especially for these younger companies, if you're first to market with a particular capability, you get there first. You capture market share. You capture wallet share. You get top line revenue growth. So these things are very, very critical. And if you look at some of the things I was talking about, in terms of challenges, right? We talked about, while governance isn't all that sexy and exciting, financial operations maximized, security posture understood, compliance under control, operations fully automated. These are the things that act as friction, if you will, in terms of an organization really moving at peak velocity. So if you're a relatively young company and you want to achieve peak velocity and gain all those business benefits of being to market first, getting that first mover advantage, getting that market share, getting that top line growth, reduction of friction is a massive benefit for your business. And the technology that we bring to bear via our sort of governance fabric, gives you all of that lubrication, if you will, which removes all that friction and allows these organizations to move at peak velocity, right? And that's really what excites us while working with these guys.
Oh, definitely. And I think this is where, it's almost like I feel like the word of the day should be velocity. It's such a strong word. So I'm sure a lot of the folks on the line here today too, they're thinking about, how easy is it to get started with CoreStack? Is it complex? Is it going to take a lot of steps? Do we have to do a lot of things? How would you explain that, maybe as what we've seen with customers?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, right? So I mean, the first thing I would tell you is that this technology is completely agentless, right? So there's no requirement that we deploy any software in your environment, in the customer's environment. So all the stuff, we're a SaaS product, we're multi-tenant, we're hosted in the hyperscalers themselves. So all the technology runs in our world. What we need is we just need access to some of your accounts, whether they're master accounts or some child accounts. And depending on the privileges you give us, all the stuff happens automatically. Typically, we see customers are onboarded in a matter of days, and they start seeing value in a matter of a week or two. Right? Within a week or two, you start seeing real operational benefit of using the technology. One of the things we're super proud of is that we just came to market with what we call a financial FinOps, financial operations assessment report. Right? This is a 2-day exercise. Right? You give us access to one account, master account, give us 2 days, and we give you a 12-page report which tells you 3 things, right? Number one, it tells you, it gives you visibility into how you're organized inside the cloud, right? What do you actually have running in the cloud? Second is we give you some recommendations on how you optimize all this stuff. And third, if you want us to, we can auto-remediate it if we have the right privileges. We can go make some of these changes happen for you. So that report, which is then summarized in a maturity model, basically gives your organization an idea of how mature are we and where are opportunities for increased optimization. So we can do all this stuff really rapidly, is my point back to you.
Great. Yeah, and that's really exciting because I know as I see it often in my role is helping customers go through that journey and bring it on as well. It's amazing how simple it is to get started. And you've stated it well, right? We onboard them. We can literally onboard in a matter of minutes, right? And like you said, we can start getting it in and we'll start to collect the data. The key thing I think that might be valuable for people to hear on here as well is that the data that we're pulling in, it's about your cloud accounts. We're not getting at your applications. We're not getting at the data running within those applications. That's sensitive information that I want to make sure is well understood, that that's still protected. What we're looking at here, though, is your cloud accounts and trying to figure out, how are they running? How do we make this infrastructure run smoother, efficient, financially responsible, and get into that side? So let's maybe go back to those high-growth startups, Bob. What sort of things do you see them doing right away as they hang up from this call today? What would be the first thing that they probably would be interested in doing?
I mean, yes, one of the things I just talked about is this assessment, right? Your FinOps assessment. There's a security posture we can take a look at. We can look at opportunities of automating all your cloud operations because it's difficult to hire all these people, especially if you have multiple clouds. This can get really hard. And one of the things we want to announce today for all of the folks that are attending our webinar today is we want to give you access to our technology, the full product, no limitations, right? So you can use our technology for 30 days. And we'll give you enough credits to cover the usage over those 30 days. We'll give you 5,000 CoreStack credits so you can cover the usage of our technology over 30 days. And for everybody out there, you can deploy it, you can use our technology. There's really nothing to deploy. And you can do this one-time optimization at no risk and at no cost, right? You can look at your cloud estate, optimize it, and you know what? Nothing's lost, right? You've gained a whole bunch of things, even if you don't ever use our technology again. But we think you'll love it. You'll see value. You come back and say, you know what? How do I use this again? How do I do this in real time? How do I do this continuously? Because I do need that automation. I do need those recommendations that you guys provide. So that's an offer we're making to everybody out there today. Use our technology, no charge, 5,000 credits, 30 days, knock yourselves out and you get the full product.
Wow, that is incredible. So we can get started easy. We can give you it for free to get started to see it. And I don't see why anybody would hold back on this, right? So this is it gets very interesting because we can start to look at and help you immediately look at what's going on. You really don't have anything to lose. You have a lot you can gain.
We'll send everybody an email that's attended to, giving them the offer so they can click on a link and get started with it, right? It should be relatively straightforward. And you're absolutely right. No risk, no cost, maximum benefit.
Yep,
exactly.
And I saw some questions in the background already popping on our Q&A. Yes, that's free. That we're going to get you onto the platform. We'll send you all those details on an email following this and get you started. And we're here to help you as well. So reach out. We'll have all that in the email. And really, once you get in, you may realize there's more to it than you're looking at. Having come from my own past, I know some of the challenges too. Not just multiple cloud providers, but a single cloud provider and having multiple accounts on there. We're going to consolidate that. And we're going to bring it all in. We're going to see it in one place. Then you add that complexity of those multiple clouds that you're starting to manage. It's just fascinating. And, getting down the road to the financial assessment, trying to see through our FinOps assessment report, those details, I don't think I've seen anybody not impressed right there from the start. So that's awesome, Bob. Thank you so much. And I really don't see why anybody wouldn't want to get started right away. So watch for that email. We'll get it out quickly by the end of the week for sure. If you don't see it, feel free to reach out to us. Reach out on our website, CoreStack.io. Soon to be announced. It's going to be CoreStack.com as well. All the same place coming to you. So it makes it easier to find us. So next up, what I'd love to hear is anybody on the line, if you have some more questions, join on the chat, and I'll have them posted to me by one of my colleagues here. But while you're typing those questions, anything you want about the product, we'll try to answer as many as possible here on this call. But we'll follow up independently after the call if we have to too. So if we don't get to your answer, we'll follow up. But Easy, let's just turn this back to you for a quick moment. And while people are typing those questions, is there something maybe from an analyst side that might be interesting to this audience that you'd like to share here?
Certainly, Chris. The cloud, if you look at how in 2021, the second half of the pandemic translated, we have learned, in absolute terms, about $50 billion of growth has happened from a base of 130 billion back in 2020 to, the cloud's total consumption. And we are talking only about public cloud. End of 2021 is about $180 billion. And it is expected to grow 20 to 30% year over year. And from a larger macro standards, the analysts from IDC's, Gartner's, 451, Frost, all of them are predicting certain basic behavioral changes that are coming up, when enterprises are adopting these technologies. It can be privacy enhanced computing. It can be personalized services offered, cloud native platforms being available, hyper automation, and use of AI in all of this to deliver those experiences. So end to end, in the next 5 to 10 years, if you look at it, with the emergence of edge and low latency computing complementing the current innovations, the rate at which the technologies that are going to transform the businesses are going to be very, very high. And the C-level executives in the Fortune 2000, 5000 companies are going to be more challenged with the foundational problems of volume and velocity. That's the analyst side of the world talking about, Chris.
Great. So we have a couple of questions coming in here already, and I'm going to hit on one here. Do we need to have any cloud governance platform when we already have native services from the hyperscalers? I'm sure any of us could take this question. Bob, you're nodding your head.
Yeah.
Did you have?
Let me get started on it. I'm sure you may want to add something to it, Chris. It would be easy as well, right? There's two fundamental challenges when you try to use native services. Native services are great, by the way, right? We have absolutely nothing against them. And in fact, we leverage all those native services when we basically build our platform. So we embrace all the native services. And as the hyperscalers actually evolve their native services, all those capabilities automatically just surface up to our capabilities, right? So that happens automatically. But what's lacking, of course, is that when you get into multiple clouds, now you have 3 sets of native services you're dealing with. Or in this case of Oracle, if you have Oracle, you have 4 sets of native services you're dealing with. So now you need to hire 4 different teams of experts to go manage 4 different clouds. And that gets really hard, especially for younger companies that are growing really quickly. So having that single pane of glass, which not only embraces the native services, but also enhances and extends those native services by filling the gaps of things that they may not naturally do or are critically important, like some of the automation things I talked about. Those kind of things become critically important, and providing all that under a single pane of glass, that really is critically important, right? That's why we do what we do, right? Embrace, extend, and provide a single pane of glass for all 4 hyperscalers.
Right. And I think that's a key part, right? And I've talked to a lot of customers that they may start with just one hyperscaler and start to use one. It's inevitable. You're going to have multiple, and you're going to want to bring these all together. But there are also other outside governances that you're going to want to include in that. And we're not just looking at the platform itself. We're giving you the abilities to have other governance and compliances answered all as part of it. So as we talk about HIPAA, PCI, even as you get into other government-based compliances you have to do, there are a lot of things that you have to go through on there. Let's hit up, and I see another good question on here. It might be perfect for an easy answer here too, literally. What trends and futures do you see about the cloud commuting? Do you foresee DCs folding up and moving, the data centers moving into the cloud? What's your thought on that?
That's an interesting dimension, Chris. I foresee probably 4 different themes of computing evolving to the next decade, right? One, the foundational, or what I call as commodity cloud services. This may be compute, storage, database kind of services, which all the cloud players will continue to offer. And eventually, most of the companies or enterprises will continue to use them because they are commoditized, foundational values are available. And the next dimension would be the hybrid computing, where while everybody is not going to completely move to the public cloud, the privatized services which are under the control of the enterprises, primarily for the regulated industries, where they think that data sovereignty or compliance requirements mandate them to actually host their services in a hybrid model. So that is going to coexist, and the hybrid innovation is kind of keeping pace with the public cloud, making it into an appliance model where they can coexist in some sort of structures. Again, this may complement the foundational commodity services in a private way, right? The third dimension is the edge computing and millions of the micro data centers that are going to pop up across the world, providing the low latency, high throughput computing additions that are required for enhanced experiences. So in terms of the traditional DCs, I see 2 kind of transformations. One, a commodity services may go to a hybrid kind of a model, and the low latency, high throughput capabilities will transform into micro data centers, becoming the edge cloud capabilities. So the last of the dimension, I would say, is the specialized, or niche services that are going to be offered by the cloud players themselves. It can be the PaaS services of Microsoft, the big data and serverless capabilities of AWS, or it is the preemptible services and AI services of Google, and so on, right? So it will be in 4 dimensions. In my opinion, and specifically the data center world will emerge to a hybrid appliance-based world and edge computing-based micro data centers across the globe.
Great. Thank you. Great answer on that. And I think, that answer, there's a couple other questions I saw there, including, thanks for the insight, Easy, and, looking at the take on the edge compute world. I think that pretty much covered a lot of that in itself too. Very inspirational story, and thank you for the comments and questions from everybody. I don't know if anybody has any parting words that you'd like to say. I think we will follow up. We want to keep this to our promised 30-minute slot here. Anything else that, Bob, you want to add in there?
Just reemphasize the great offer that we'll send to everyone that's part of this webinar today, and I would encourage you to take advantage of it and go ahead and optimize your cloud
Easy, anything else from you?
No, thank you very much. Really appreciate hosting this webinar, Chris, and thanks for all the participants joining us. We'll be true partners in your journey, helping you to maximize the velocity for you in your digital transformation.
And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bob, Easy, for joining. Like I said, look for that follow-up email. We'll give you details on how you can get started for free. That's awesome. And start to plug it into your accounts. We're here to answer any other questions outside of this webinar as well. Watch for some new ones coming. We're going to try to, address a lot of different pieces of content and get you very familiar with our technologies. Thank you, everyone, for your time today.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.